started by mentioning one of my favorite books, Paul Hawken's book, Blessed Unrest, all around the world. And he started trying to add up the number of non-government organizations in the environmental movement, the development movement, Aboriginal rights, the women's movement. He got into the millions before he stopped. There is a tremendous amount of thinking going on at the grassroots, and we are networked globally. I think one of the great manifestations of it was we've had moments where I thought, okay, it's going to take off now. So Occupy everything, Occupy Wall Street, great. We had Idle No More, and maybe Idle No More will surface again, and we can support Idle No More. But it's not going to come from political leaders or leadership. It's going to come grassroots up, developing solutions. That's my dog saying, yay. Sorry. Developing solutions, developing resilience in communities, right? Because the old structures are going to be crumbling. And the last people to notice that the old structures are crumbling are the people who think they're in charge. We saw it happen in the Kremlin. It's the nature of things when there's a disequilibrium. As disequilibrium occurs in natural cycles, things suddenly tilt very fast. And disequilibrium is certainly occurring in global capitalism. The importance of having resilient, community-based structures, social networks, social cohesion, and this is not an anti-capitalist rant for anyone who's worried about that. It's just that the current, as you know, a lot of global capitalists are concerned about the fact that capitalism is destroying itself. So whether it's George Soros or you go back to economists like Schumpeter, but anyway, something exciting is brewing. It's everywhere, all at once, that people are thinking new ways, talking about how to do things differently, ready for their moment to exert that grassroots power that exists in a citizenry that's engaged and informed and knows it has power. And that's the most significant challenge that we have in Canada, is the widespread false notion that individuals are powerless. And that's part of one of the worst aspects of the post-Second World War world has been the myth of consumerism as the path to happiness. The consumer myth wants us to be passive, not to know how to grow our own food or do our own preserves or even cook a meal. The passive society of consumerism is also disempowering politically. And the empowering message of communities that are increasingly self-reliant, thinking for themselves, talking to each other, sharing ideas, excited and happy and exuberant and creative, that's the solution. And it's hard to describe because it's amorphous, and as Paul Hawken pointed out, it's leaderless. People don't run around holding on to the same book and quoting from it, because this is a movement of a transformational change in human consciousness, which doesn't fit in a book. How do we move the conversation forward? I think it's the best way to engage people in grassroots democracy is through, town hall meetings and potlucks and talking to each other. I don't know, we tend to focus a lot, and I may be wrong, and those of you under 30 can correct me, or even under 50 can correct me, the whole social media thing, that we're really engaging with people because we're on Twitter. It's, you can't really, there's no way to have the conversation we just had if we're restricted to 140 characters, right? And if we're, this is why, by the way, during the period of prorogation, when I finished the town halls that are in Saanich-Gulf Islands, I'm just going to keep going across Canada. Now, I'm not going to be able to see all Canadians, but, I'll be in most provinces, in Nova Scotia and New Brunswick and Quebec and Ontario and the Yukon and Alberta and Manitoba before Parliament resumes, to try to engage people in these conversations. And I'm writing a book that gets into some of these issues more deeply, because you can't get into them even in articles in the Island Times as much as I try. There's only 800 words. So I've got a book coming out in the fall, but it really isn't going to be me. It's going to be all of us that are thinking hard about what do we do, because we're in trouble. And if we're in trouble, it's not appropriate to decide it's somebody else's job to save our lives. If we're not prepared to save our own lives, who's going to? And I do think it's that critical.